Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome all viewers. Today, inshallah, we are going to continue discussing the topic of marriage, specifically the traditional wife. That's what we are going to be reading about today. And I need help from everybody watching this video. Please, after you watch the entire video, let me know in the comments. If you are a female, do you want to be a traditional wife or not, and why? And if you are a male, do you want a traditional wife or not, and why? So let's get right into it. I'm just going to read a few passages. This is an article entitled, "What is a trad wife?" meaning traditional wife. And it is written by a woman, which I think is important to note because there is a perception amongst many that being a traditional wife is oppressive, that it's something very negative. It's misogynistic. Yet we find there are women, like the author of this article, who feel like being a traditional wife is something extremely positive and important. She writes, "Though a traditional housewife may submit to her husband, she is not considered of lesser importance to him, or allows herself to be in a position that threatens her rights. A traditional woman's place is not under a man's feet, but under his wing, by his side. A traditional housewife chooses her husband based on his ability to care for people, provide for their children, and most importantly, upon his integrity and values. Good, wholesome values. In this, she is smart in choosing a mate she can trust and give over or submit certain responsibilities to him in order for them to have a clear division of emotional, administration, and physical labor in the home." So I want to highlight this one quote. "A woman's place is not under a man's feet, but under his wing, by his side." She continues, "A traditional wife is not controlled by others, neither by her husband or her boss. In fact, she has more freedom under the headship of her husband than she does an employer. What's more, her husband cares for her emotional well-being and health far more than any employer ever could." And this reminds me of many of the memes that we see floating around the internet. For example, here we see the husband saying, "Make me a coffee," and the feminist saying, "Make your own coffee." But then we see the boss saying, "Make me a coffee," and she's saying, "Yes, boss, do you want sugar and milk in it?" So why is that the case? Why is it that a husband gets a disrespectful response, but the boss gets this respectful willingness? Well, here is another thought-provoking quote. "Feminism is the idea that women are free when they serve their employers, but slaves when they serve their husband and children." A traditional wife believes she is worth far more than a salary. Women's liberation turned women out of their homes and into the workforce. This was a fantastic move for equality, but their newfound sense of freedom was purchased at an overwhelming cost. It was at great spiritual cost that we learned to perceive our value in the balance in our bank, how many degrees or college certificates we possessed, and how many glass ceilings and ladders we could climb, instead of who we are as contributing members of society. Traditional wives do not measure their value in being able to produce monetary income, but in how they can save their family money, how they can produce fine children, and create a loving home which is open all hours. Working women would do well to honor this side of them just as much as their workplace contributions. A traditional wife honors her femininity and what makes her different from men. As much as it seems the powers that be want to neutralize everything in this world, you cannot deny that nearly all living things which reproduce offspring, from humans to cats to cows to flowers to the vegetables and grains we eat, all need genetic male and female parts in order for that miraculous process to happen. Those parts, their functions, their genetic makeup, and their personalities and needs are vastly different. A traditional wife honors the natural order and believes that though she is just as important as the male of her species, she is created differently and embraces it. In a modern world that wants to coerce us into gender neutrality, she knows this goes against the laws of nature and so rejects it. A traditional wife rejects distasteful elements of feminism. She openly rejects the side of feminism that is man-hating, takes a victim mentality in all things, and promotes that the future is female. How does she explain to her young sons that the future is female and there are no marches and catchy slogans for him? No, she believes the future is family. A traditional wife is brave. In a world that insists on exposing the risk she's taking, not that she isn't aware of these already, she is brave enough to risk not having a paid job. She is brave enough to risk taking her vows seriously. She is brave enough to be reliant on her husband for money. But at the same time, she's smart. Smart enough to budget. Smart enough to save. Smart enough to educate herself at home on current affairs and things that interest her. A traditional wife reaches out to her community. During the time that would otherwise have her sat in a glass cubicle day in and day out, she uses this to reach out to her community. A traditional wife is industrious. She learns to carefully budget and manage her family resources to see that they are never hungry. She is also talented enough to earn a little extra income on the side if she so wishes, but this does not make her a career woman, as this industry comes second to the needs of her family and is never relied upon to fill the coffers. A traditional wife is simply a loving wife and doting mother who, when she married, became one with her husband, working towards a common goal. A loving mother who decided that she is the very best resource her children could ever need, and so chooses to stay home to raise them herself. Despite the fact that she is unpaid to do all these things, she has never felt happier or more fulfilled. So that does it for this video. Now that we have discussed what a traditional wife is, please let me know how you feel in the comments. If you are a female, do you want to be a traditional wife or not, and why? If you are a male, do you want your wife to be a traditional wife or not, and why? Look forward to reading your responses, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.